Good evening, everybody. I'd like to start with a quote by William Wilberforce about slavery that says, "You may choose to look the other way, but you can never again pretend that you did not know." Human trafficking is a heinous crime that happens so often and we don't even realize it. How would you feel if this happened to somebody that you care about? As a Christian, a parent, and an abuse victim, I believe that there is more that can be done in this country to stop this problem. It's a problem that is becoming more prevalent in our society today. And although there are many organizations out there that are trying to help the victims, I think that more can be done to ensure proper justice and better sentencing for the traffickers, as well as good aftercare for the victims involved. According to Merriam-Webster, human trafficking is organized criminal activity in which human beings are treated as possessions to be controlled or exploited, as being forced into prostitution or involuntary labor. Many people think this problem does not happen in the United States. For so long, Americans have shut their eyes to this because surely it's not something that happens in the land of the free. Well, according to P.J. Randhawa, a journalist for WISTV.com, statistics show that over 150,000 people are human trafficking victims in the United States. The A21 campaign, which is a well-known organization that helps fight against human trafficking, also estimates that 17,500 people are trafficked annually in the United States, and about 33% of these are American citizens. In a 5-year study done by the Polaris Project, which is a leading organization on the fight against human trafficking, between 2007 and 2012, Texas, Florida, California, Illinois, and New York were the 5 states with the highest amount of trafficking incidences. According to this map, as you can see, trafficking happens in more places than those 5 states I just mentioned. These are all the places between 2007 and 2012 that the Polaris Project received phone calls on that were linked to human trafficking. Exodus 21:16 in the New International Version of the Bible says, "Anyone who kidnaps another and either sells him or still has him when he is caught should be put to death." So that clearly states God's value of human life and justice. And if he values this so highly, why are we not doing more to help end this problem in our country? Now that we know how prevalent this problem is in the United States, let's take a look at how our legal systems have failed in several cases to prosecute some of these offenders appropriately. Although justice is on the rise for some of our victims, there's still too many cases in which traffickers are either not charged at all or are charged inappropriately. Many of these crimes are not even reported because people are unaware that it happens in their own backyards. Bridget Carr, the director of the Human Trafficking Clinic at the University of Michigan Law School, stated in 2009 that child victims of sex trafficking are frequently viewed as criminals instead of as victims. Girls as young as 12 are arrested every day for selling sex on the streets, and boys as young as 11 are even on the streets every day selling sex. The Polaris Project recognizes that while all states forbid pimping, the sentencing for traffickers, especially when it comes to child victims, is unsuitably low. Brian Bates is the creator of John TV and a video vigilante that captures the reality of prostitution in Oklahoma. Last year in 2013, he reported about a father, Jonathan Mark Smith, who was arrested for pimping out his 6-year-old autistic son. After prosecution, Smith entered a blind plea and was only sentenced to 7 years in prison. And the other man involved was only sentenced to 2 years in prison and 8 years of probation. This does not seem like an appropriate sentence for such a heinous crime. As a victim of sexual abuse myself, I can tell you that there are lasting emotional effects. Being an abuse victim has affected my marriage, and it has affected the fear that I have of something like this happening to my children. There are many things that we can do to get involved and help with the fight against human trafficking. The Polaris Project is one of those organizations that you can join to help the fight against human trafficking. There are several ways you can get involved here that I show on the screen. You can visit the website, or you can call the hotline number to see what ways you can get involved in your area. The A21 campaign is another organization whose motto is to abolish slavery in the 21st century. And these are some ways that the A21 campaign suggests that you get involved. You can visit their website, and there is a local chapter here through Seacoast Church as well that you can get involved through. Isaiah 61:8 of the NIV says, "For I, the Lord, love justice." The Bible clearly states God's value of justice in this verse. And if we do not fight for proper justice for the victims of these crimes, then we're not upholding something that God values so highly. So summing up today, human trafficking is a real problem here in the United States. Perhaps you've even come across a victim and not even realized it. Although our legal systems are getting better, I think that there is more that we can do to fight for better justice and better sentencing for the victims of these crimes. And there's much that you can do to get involved. I encourage you all to check the websites that I mentioned or even call the hotline numbers to see what you can do to get involved in your area. Write your congressman or start a petition, join a group, or even support them financially. Remember, you guys may not realize how prevalent this problem is in our country, but if it was your sister or your daughter or your wife, you would know. Thank you very much for your time.